We are recreating day 0 through 3 in the Babe Bus, but now with the Lamborghini. At this point, it was 2018, and it was the end of February, and it was freezing cold, and I did not want to go. And so we're a little off because now it's 2023, and it's very hot out. It's about 80. And it's April. It's early April. So I'm a little off in time. And that is problematic in so much as the sweet spot when you are full-timing in a van conversion is you want 50 degrees-ish at night and then low 70s during the day. So I'm going to miss that by a little bit. But we'll be okay because now we have all the accoutrement in the fancy Lamborghini. I've got a generator and an air conditioning and all kinds of things. The question is will I know how to use any of it? Because it is so high-tech and over-the-top fancy that I don't have the slightest idea, and I'm not one of those people who reads the manual. So we are going for an overnight to the first place that I stayed, which was Georgetown, South Carolina. The reason that we can't make this a longer trip, is two things. One, we have all this insane weather, tornadoes, and chaos coming through the South right now. And two, a couple weeks ago, yours truly started her own real estate brokerage. So I'm the boss now, and the boss cannot just dip out without a little pre-planning. So we're gonna go there and back. The whole point is to learn the systems that are a little bit complicated. It's called Bannister Real Estate, and the reason that actual banister is designed after the banister of the abandoned mansion in downtown Wilmington that I broke into all the time to take photos of and float up and down the stairs like I own the place. The other reason it's named Bannister is from the book. And if you remember when we read, I forget what chapter it was, but when I was at Bolt Castle, and I do this in real life, when I explore old abandoned buildings or houses, I put my hand on the banister and try to recreate in my imagination what it looked like when it was in its prime, 100, however many years ago. And if I do that around other people, it always freaks them out. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun to do. So I named my company Bannister Real Estate. So when you are planning for your first big outing, whether it's an RV or whether you're going to go full-time in your van conversion, whatever it is, you have to go, number one, day 0, to the greatest place on earth. And that is not Disneyland. It's Walmart. Walmart has these plastic plates. They're like $2 and they have cups and bowls and all kinds of stuff. I still use these in my house. I don't need to use light, cheap stuff in my house, but they're durable as hell. And they have the color of my soul in stock. $239. Too much money. It's not cheap. I've done videos about that before. The RV thing, the van thing, it's not cheap. Now, realistically, did I need to buy all that stuff? No, because I could just take it out of my house since it's only a 1 or 2 night trip and then put it in the RV and then take it back out. But I will tell you that if you don't have your rig set up to go, you won't go. So it's better to just have a duplicate of everything in the rig so that if you are inspired to take off, you can just leave. You're not gonna wanna pull everything out of your house, pack a suitcase and all that stuff, and go back and forth. You just won't. Comparatively, I am just as stressed out as I was when I left in the Babe Bus, but for very different reasons. The difference is, on that day, I think I left around 10 a.m. and I remember sitting in the driveway and saying a little prayer. And I'm sitting in the driveway again, only that house, I was squatting in that house essentially, and this house I actually own. And I was stressed out because I was about to be homeless in a tin can, and now I'm stressed out because I own 2 companies, a video production company and a real estate brokerage, and a YouTube channel, and I have diplomatic control over a small village in Wilmington, North Carolina as their president and savior. I am more nervous about operating everything in here because it's all done with an app, and I couldn't even figure out how to get the water in. I have no idea where the propane goes because there's usually a tank. I can't find the tank. And oddly enough, there's a key locking every single outdoor compartment because I guess water theft is an issue. I'm not sure. But we are at 1:30 now, so we are way behind. Doing great. I'm just an icon of travel fortitude. But let's get some music on and hit the road into South Carolina. And much how I felt that day in 2018, I just want to crawl in the back and go to bed. Woo! Solo female! Whatever, let's go. And we're back. Back to where it all began. Back in Georgetown, South Carolina, with that big old steel plant off in the distance. I remember when I got here, it was about the evening, and I was kind of spent right now. And I pulled the Babe bus this way and opened up the side so that I had these hateful seagulls and the water and everything in the background. And I got my little laptop out so I would look like a real van lifer. And I'm gonna be doing that again in a second, but it's because now I'm a real business owner and I've got work to do. I'm gonna put a little bit of Happy Camper down the porta potty because this is a cassette toilet. So while it's only me and it's only one night, I don't want to smell what that smells like, whether it's overnight or in a week. The sun has set over the water, and it is so much, besides the temperature, it is so much like how it was. Only I don't have the fear anymore because I'm probably going to get kicked out of this spot, and that's fine, and then I'll go to Walmart, and if I get kicked out of Walmart, well, then I'll get a hotel. But I'm going to read so this is chapter 16, which is takeoff day, and I'm going to shorten chapter 16 because some of it is not at this very point, but it's worth mentioning that it's chapter 16 because there's a lot of story that comes before that. And for any kind of critique or criticism I've gotten about like, oh, there's already van life books, there are. But the thing that I've never shared, and what I think separates mine from all the other books, is that, well, the why, everything leading up to that. So we're 16 chapters in and we're just getting to takeoff day. And I don't talk a whole lot about the building of the van. So there's a whole nother story that y'all need to sit tight for. Anyway, let's rock and roll. Chapter 16. Back in 2018. The van was built. I just needed to pack me and my things inside. I was fresh out of excuses, but kept looking for one. I reasoned that waiting just one more month would put me at the end of March where the nightly lows were at least in the 40s. A week later, the clouds broke and the sun actually touched the ground. The forecast for that day was 60 degrees. Tea in hand, I stood in the driveway with the side door open, reminiscing upon the empty shell it was just a couple months prior. If I didn't leave then, I was never going to leave. Many hashtag van lifers build out their vans, then take several short, close-to-home trips to work out the kinks and get accustomed to the space. Some sleep in their driveways, using the short walk to a warm bed as a bailout plan if it becomes unbearable. Remember what I said about burning all the boats? There would be no trial run, no pinky toe in the water. I was getting in this van and I was getting on the highway, or I was selling it. Right now. No one knew I was leaving that day because even I didn't know I was leaving that day. I packed 8 of every particle of clothing, thinking that would get me through one whole week before I had to do laundry. I put pared down amounts of my favorite foods in the glitter fridge. My essential documents went into a Ziploc bag taped to the bottom of the cabinet drawers, lest I was robbed. I typed out a short email to the Kolstads, they were the people that I was basically squatting in their house, saying that I was taking a 2 to 3 week vacation and had arranged for a police officer friend to keep an eye on the place. The rest of my valuables I left at their house because, after all, I really was only going for 2 to 3 weeks. They responded after a few minutes with a, "Have fun." Sitting in the driver's seat, I said a little prayer and pulled out of the driveway. It's just a few weeks. It's just a few weeks. It's just a few weeks. No reason for any goodbyes because I was going to be right back. I had one stop to make before crossing the state line, the Charlotte Fire Department, who I hadn't seen since Hurricane Florence. The guys had been keeping up with my build on Facebook, and Lieutenant Matt said he had a good luck gift to give me before I left. The Babe Bus had a 7-gallon water tank and electrical plugs for low draw items like laptops, electronics, lights, and even the glitter fridge. I packed a toaster oven and a microwave since that's what I cooked with at home, but operating either in the van would necessitate the use of the Honda generator, which would make a lot of noise. Matt pulled a propane Coleman camping stove from his truck. I protested, pointing out I had the generator, I had the microwave, and he cut me off. Ignoring my objections, clearly knowing better, and caring too much to let me suffer in my own stubbornness, he opened the back of the van, slid the stove inside, and slammed the door with a very all-knowing, "Trust me." The guys gave me the Cliff Notes version on how not to die from carbon monoxide poisoning while cooking inside a van without windows. For several weeks after, I would flinch in terror every time I turned the gas knob and clicked the igniter. I still do that. Convinced the fumes would kill me, it would take weeks before I used it inside the van. When it poured rain and I couldn't open the door, I just ate cold food. After my propane lesson and a few well-deserved jabs about lay shitter, they slapped the outside of the van, high-fived its driver, and headed inside. I had no particular route plan besides chasing warmth, and that meant going further south. My first stop was a mind-bending hour-and-a-half way from my front door, Conway, South Carolina. Eat your heart out, Marco Polo. Crossing the state line, I filled up the Babe Bus's first tank of gas and grimaced. $65. Maybe it would be a 2-week trip. Now, fast forward 2023, like I would be thrilled if it was $65. Technically, if I turned around now, I could be home before dark. All I had to do was tell YouTube that the van had mechanical issues. It's not like they would know. But I had burned all the boats, and damn it, I was going to Conway. A few miles away from landing in the tiny town of Conway, my stomach overruled my adrenaline, and I realized that I hadn't eaten yet. Just like today, it's 7 o'clock and I haven't eaten yet. Okay, big girl, your first meal in the van. I pulled into a church parking lot and looked back through the door separating the front cab from the kitchen. The camping stove felt like carrying an atom bomb back there. Too scary, not an option. The toaster and microwave required the generator, so not an option there. No, I had to save every penny for gas. Outside, members of the church came and went from the building. Surely they wouldn't object to a lone traveler making a meal at their doorstep, but even sitting in the unfamiliar parking lot felt so exposed. Pulling the pink fluffy top off the truck fridge, I plopped 2 semi-frozen veggie burger patties onto a plastic reusable plate and drizzled ketchup on top. I'm gonna rewrite this a little bit. Basically, I felt like everybody knew what I was doing in the van, and I felt like a homeless person, because I kind of was. And so when I was sitting in that church parking lot, and every person I saw, I'm like, oh my God, they know what I'm doing in here, and they know that like don't have anywhere to go, and these people had no idea, nor did they give a damn. And so I crawled in the back, and it was pitch black because there were no windows, and I remember gnawing on that frozen veggie burger, trying to make the ketchup like make it seem not that bad. And I was so hungry and so tired that I didn't even care. And now, like, I will cook dinner on your front lawn. I don't give a damn. All those Instagram photos of #vanlife came into perspective. They sold a lifestyle of nibbling freshly sliced papaya in a bikini with your side boob hanging out. The van door wide open and the mountain vista of swaying palm trees in the distance. I had swaying palm trees on the side of Route 17, but I was gnawing a raw beef-flavored soybean, praying no one was calling the police about a suspicious vehicle. My boobs were not... God, see, that's my own censor. My boobs were not hanging out to catch the rays. They were cold. I was cold. That fucking veggie patty was cold. Casey Roman, our intrepid adventurer, day 1. All right, so that gets me closer to where we're headed. I'm going to skip the Conway because I didn't go back to Conway in this. But that was kind of funny. Basically in Conway is like Wilmington Light. It's just this teeny tiny southern town. And you would have thought I was in Baghdad. Like, I just kept circling the block to check on the van because I was so convinced that someone was going to rob me. The first place that I went to park for the night was the Anytime Fitness in town. And I parked right there because I wanted to be close to the door because I was so convinced that someone was going to chop me up into pieces and put me in a suitcase. And there were all these people coming in and out. And I couldn't, and I needed to eat. So I drove around to the back of the building and parked right back there and took the generator out and the toaster. And it was so loud, and all these people coming in and out of the gym were staring at this woman trying to cook broccoli in the back of their gym parking lot, and I couldn't do it. And I shoved everything in the van, and I sat in the back in the dark and ate half burnt, half frozen broccoli. You know when you're just really stressed out and like one of three things is gonna help. One of four things. One, medication. Didn't have any of that. Two, a hot shower. Certainly didn't have that. Three, like throwing yourself on the couch and relaxing. And four, a hot meal. Well, there was no couch, there was no hot shower, and like I just needed a hot meal to feel whole again. So that was like the mission that I was on. So I left the Anytime Fitness, and this is where we pick up. Convinced the police were coming to cite me for broccoli cooking with an open container, I drove to East Bay Park, which is where I am right now. I passed by soccer fields and saw parents still in work clothes packed into the benches. Now I was both hungry and terribly homesick for the sense of community I once had. On the furthest point in the park, looking out into the bay, I found a few empty spaces. Hoping for some shelter in the darkness, I opened the large sliding side door and set up the propane cooking stove, which is probably exactly what I'm going to do tonight. I just needed a cup of tea. A heavy fog was coming in off the bay and through the bright lights of the not too distant steel mill across the sky. I can see it from right here. Click, click, poof. With great delight, I lit the camping stove, and it did not blow up the Babe Bus. The hiss of the gas twirled with an occasional background chorus of foghorns. While the kettle heated, I snapped a shot of the spooky mill, reminding myself that the whole point of this journey was to take more time looking up at the sky and the world around me, to take more pictures, to collect more experiences beyond a paycheck. That was one of the best cups of Earl Grey tea I've ever poured, and even as I write this, I can still remember how the fog felt on my face, how warm the tea kept my hands, and how grateful I was to have the quiet that only comes with night. Amen. A beautiful moment interrupted by flashing blue lights and the boop boop of a patrol car whipping in next to the van. Shit. Having worked with officers long enough, I knew it was better I just sit still and not move, though I did toss my enormous pocket knife into the crawling closet. Fully spent from the day's events, I debated suggesting an arrest. I'd have a bed, the hot meal I didn't get, and a great excuse to head home. Ma'am, everything all right? In fact, he was just right, like, this is the same, everything is the same, and he pulled him right over there. He was so handsome. I explained the tea and the camping stove in detail. Then I explained the van, poorly. You're sleeping in this? Yes, no, kind of. Is there a wrong answer here? He firmly stated that I could not sleep in my car or RV or whatever the van was that was parked there. I started to plead. I was so tired. I wasn't going to bother anybody. I just need to sleep, and I would leave in the morning, I promise. He shook his head. Look, we have all sorts of problems with people coming here late at night and doing drugs and God knows what else. This is not safe for you. Do you know where the Walmart is? The Walmart supercenters are the go-to spots for RVers who need a place to crash. They're open 24 hours, or they were pre-COVID. They have security cameras and they're well lit. Retirees in big Class A RVs like to circle up together along with the truck drivers and camp atop the pavement. I had promised myself that I wouldn't cave and start Walmart cruising, that I would do as the Instagram models before me had done, and I'd find remote locations with incredible views every single day. How could I blow it on day one and fold for the most predictable of venues? He gave the van a full scan and then looked back at me. Look, I patrol the Walmart here, and I'm working all night. If you park in the Walmart, I promise I'll make sure that you're okay. If he had sprouted wings in a halo, I would not have been alarmed. God saw this stubborn donkey doing what stubborn donkeys do, so he sent a backup plan shaped like a Georgetown PD officer. I drove to the Walmart parking lot and positioned myself squarely underneath the brightest pole light I could find. I unrolled all the window covers again, trying to move not so fast that someone would see me. Before crawling in the back, I peeked out each one to take inventory of the nearby threats. 4 Walmart truck drivers, 2 people obliviously texting on their phone, 3 clearly living out of their cars, and 1 likely abandoned vehicle. Good enough. The Babe Bus battery bank wasn't enough to power a water heater, so it was a cold face wash and teeth brushing. The temperature outside was hovering at 49 degrees as I wiggled into my pajamas down in the crawling closet. Once underneath the covers, I finally stopped shivering. All around me, I could hear engines cutting on and off, the sound of shopping carts crashing into one another in the carousels, and cars idling around me. None of these noises were new. If anything, they were background static during a routine shopping trip, but not now. Now I was by myself with only a car door to protect me and feeling a kind of vulnerable I had never felt before. I stared for what felt like hours at my lovely pressed tin tile ceiling. I prayed for sleep to come soon and for morning to come sooner. When a particularly loud noise jolted me fully awake, I peeled back the window cover to see two guys attempting midnight engine repair. A few rows behind him was the unmistakable outline of a patrol car. The equipment inside illuminated the interior just enough that I could see the same officer typing away at his keyboard. And then I remembered him saying, "I'll make sure you're okay." I smiled, rolled the window cover back up, and fell fast asleep. So that was the first day in the van. And it's probably going to go exactly the same way, but I'm going to head to Walmart and get some food. And then I really don't feel like cooking tonight. I don't feel like cooking at all. We'll just see how that goes. But I'm going to make some dinner and then go back to that Walmart to go to sleep because I damn well know that I can't sleep in here in this park. And I might just run into the PD again. And if you hear of a woman getting arrested in Georgetown, South Carolina, just know that everybody involved in that arrest probably had a good time. So here's the part of #van life you don't see that much. It is 9:30 now at night. I've not eaten yet. And if I want to eat, I have to find somewhere I guess I could cook in the van, but I really don't want to put the grill out. And if I go back to the park, I'm probably going to get thrown out. So I really just want to go to bed. This is almost as terrible as I remember van food being. It's actually a little bit worse, but that is why the good Lord created ketchup, because he knew that fragile middle-class people in the future would forgo their kitchens and cutlery and everything else to eat out of a car.